So Velma Season 2 has come and gone, and after watching it, I can honestly say, so is my will to live.
I'm gonna kill myself! I'm going to kill myself, and it's your fault!
I'm kidding, of course, but in all seriousness, this show is bad. Like, really, really bad.
Exactly. I spit truth without a filter, like every comedian before #MeToo.
Know your fucking place, trash.
This series has truly damaged the Scooby-Doo IP and left many fans outraged at Warner Brothers Discovery for greenlighting not just 1, but 2 seasons of this series. And I've gotta say, I can't really blame them. It seems like the whole goal of this series was to trigger anyone who watched and loved the Scooby-Doo franchise.
Not a great plan.
Executive producer and voice of Velma, Mindy Kaling, along with head writer and showrunner Charlie Grandy, have made comments that have left many fans scratching their heads in utter confusion. We'll get into all that in a minute, and trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for that because it's kinda wild. And I know everyone on the internet has a very short attention spans, and TikTok has wrecked our ability to stay engaged for longer than a minute, but stay with me here. I'm taking you on a journey, which I can say is more than I got when watching the Velma series.
What the fuck?
So as I'm sure you've seen all over the internet, Velma has been getting a lot of hate, and just about all of it is justified. Now, as many of my returning viewers know, I try to be fair and balanced in my takes and bring in some nuance when doing my reviews or breaking a subject down. This video will be no different. So with that being said, are there any redeeming qualities in this series? Surprisingly, yes. There are some aspects of this show that I thought were rather enjoyable and wish that this series would have gone farther with, which I'll touch on in just a moment. But first, I want to take a brief pause to ask you to please like the video. You guys can't imagine how important liking a video is for a YouTuber's success in getting their content pushed out to more people. Now, for those of you that would like to take your support of my channel to the next level and be an active part of the community I'm trying to build, feel free to sub to my Patreon for the low price of only $2.99. I'll talk about this more at the end of the video because I know you are all eager for me to get into Velma.
Phrasing?
And I want to respect your time, but please stick around till the end of the video to hear about the perks you get when joining the Patreon and why it's important for the future of my channel, because without it, I might not be able to continue doing YouTube. But again, we'll talk about that at the end of the video. For now, let's dive in.
Dive on in.
So when Velma Season 1 first premiered, it was met with massive backlash and pretty much universally flamed on the internet.
That is one big pile of shit.
Its actual viewership numbers weren't anything to write home about either. This led many fans to assume that that would be the last we would ever hear of the Velma series. But then, something truly unprecedented happened. Amid all the hate and poor viewership numbers that the Velma series was getting, Warner Brothers Discovery decided to greenlight a second season of Velma.
You what?
This outraged many fans.
You agreed to stay away! I lied.
How could Warner Brothers greenlight another season of a show that is universally hated by its own fan base and by all metrics a bomb, while simultaneously canceling beloved series with enthusiastic fans like Close Enough and Final Space? Well, we don't have an answer and probably never will, which makes the situation all the more frustrating. However, the hope was for many fans who felt wronged by the Velma series that maybe the show would at least course correct and be less divisive than the first season, and come more in line with more traditional Scooby-Doo series. Unfortunately, this was not the case, and Velma Season 2 was actually worse than Season 1, if that's possible.
Was that an evil laugh?
Nope, just getting into the witchy spirit. Ooh, how about can curly fries be made straight again?
I know it's not your intent, but that sounds homophobic. Ear, soulmates.
Soulmates? Daphne, that term was invented by the publishing industry to sell books about vampires boning werewolves.
What the hell are you? No! 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 No!
Now, to understand why Velma Season 2 is worse than Season 1, we first need to understand what the series got wrong as a whole, and also make note of the few things it actually did right in the first season. Let's start with the former. There are so many things this series gets wrong about the world of Scooby-Doo and its lore, starting with the Scooby Gang themselves. These new versions of the Mystery Gang don't act or feel like the characters we've all come to love. In fact, other than sharing the same names, they're totally different people. Fred is a selfish man-child who is completely incapable of doing anything for himself. Daphne is basically a mean girl who loves Velma because of reasons? Velma herself is an egotistical narcissist, not to mention just a terrible human being. Shaggy is, well, not Shaggy. And as for Scooby, he just doesn't exist in the show. Now, to the series' credit, the Scooby Gang are characters that were created in the late 1960s and have traditionally had very little depth as individuals other than their basic tropes. Previous Scooby series have sought to evolve the characters and pull new interesting story threads from them. 2010's Mystery Incorporated has been the most successful in this endeavor, but even they struggled to reimagine the Mystery Gang in a new, interesting way, while also having them feel similar to the past versions. It's not an easy thing to do, and many writers have struggled to balance these two tasks when telling a new story within an established franchise. The Velma writers seem to have completely foregone the way of trying to make the characters feel similar, and have instead decided to go in a completely different direction and subvert the viewer's expectations. This is a really bad idea. Not only is the Velma series changing the characters entirely, but these new versions of the Mystery Gang are generally horrible people. Most of all, Velma herself. Velma is constantly shown to be a terrible person who uses everyone around her with little regard for their problems and feelings. She's condescending and extremely judgmental, but yet has pretty much the whole main cast in love with her. Like, what?
What the fuck?
Velma is self-admittedly very physically unattractive, and as I previously said, she is emotionally speaking a terrible person. Not to mention, she's pretty gross. She's always talking about her bowel movements and her sweaty pits, and how she kinda stinks. Yet Fred, Daphne, and not Shaggy all somehow can't resist her. Like, what are we doing here?
Come on, man.
This complete overhaul of the characters is a main reason this series has bombed so badly. Now, moving on, let's talk about the few things the Velma series did right in season 1 and how season 2 completely threw those plot threads away. The character of Gigi. I genuinely enjoyed this original character and love seeing her and Norville grow closer and work through the ups and downs of their relationship together. However, season 2 completely relegates Gigi to a secondary character who we barely even see speak. Then there's the mystery of Daphne's real parents. The first season of the series explores this, but then just drops the plotline in season 2 when the writers could have gone so much further with it. So what few things this series had going for it, the writers just decided to throw away in season 2. So yeah, in short, Velma is a terrible series. Now, before we go, taking into account everything I've said, let's take a look at some of the comments Mindy Kaling and Charlie Grandy have made about the series that are quite baffling.
Did you feel any anxiety about maybe a little bit of a risk dealing with reimagining such an iconic franchise?
Absolutely. I mean, it was nice that Warner Brothers, from the moment we mentioned it to them, Warner Brothers Animation was on board and really for whatever we wanted to do. So that got scary because I was like, well, I can't blame them for anything. You know, people like, this is exactly how we wanted to do it. But yeah, it can be, you know, we're fans of the show. This really grew out of a love of Scooby-Doo, and you want it to have that aspect of it that is a love letter to the fans that respects the original and all the continuing versions. I just watched Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo, and it's fantastic. And I love that both these shows can exist in the Scooby-verse. And so you want the Scooby fans to think that too. And so that, yes, that I've had some anxiety about. But you let that guide your writing. You really, each time, each joke, each character, though we've updated them in some way, changed them in some ways, you really try to be respectful to the original and not veer too far from the original.
What's the one thing you want Scooby-Doo fans to know about the show?
Honestly, I think that we really revere the characters in the original, and I think, we've really used a lot of their most the pillars of their personalities and just tried to explore that in a super respectful and affectionate way. We have so much love and admiration for Scooby, all of the Scooby-Doo fans, because the show came out in the late 60s. So it's just a testament to how popular these characters are. And so we really just feel honored to be part of it and excited for the fans to watch and to see how much, we really try to beautifully capture the spirit of the original.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
So yeah, I think all of my previous points kind of prove this to not be the case, and it shows just how out of touch the writers of this series are with the wider Scooby-Doo fandom. So to end, I'll just say this. The future of the Velma series is unknown, but I, and just about everyone else, hope that it just goes away. It's divisive to the fan base, and the few things it had going for itself, it threw away in season 2. I'll also say, Scooby-Doo is by no means dead, and has already been greenlit for an anime reimagining that I can tell you just by looking at the poster, myself and many fans are already more excited about this series than we ever were for Velma. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe. Also, please consider subbing to my Patreon for only $2.99. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have time to make videos much longer as my college and work ramp back up at the end of summer. I'm desperately trying to hire an editor, and by subbing to the Patreon for only $2.99, you are genuinely helping me get closer to that goal. The two biggest benefits of subbing to the Patreon include your name being featured in every video going forward and voting rights on future videos, among other benefits. I know times are hard, and I appreciate every one of you that are kind enough to spare a couple dollars to help me make this dream of YouTube come true. Now, I've kept you long enough, and I'm gonna go get started on my next video, so I'll see you in the next one.